What's up, everyone? Today we're here at the Well Community Church and we're hanging out with my buddy Bobby, and he is going to run us through what he's using for guitars, for amps, for pedals. He's going to walk us through his signal chain and give us a demo of some of the sounds. All right, so we're going to start out. Bobby's going to show us some of his guitars. So what's the first one you got here?
All right, so this guy right here is, I've named it the Birdie Strat. It's a nickname for my daughter. I put an old picture of her right there.
That's awesome.
I bought this at a local music store. It's a 1984 Fender American Deluxe Stratocaster. It started its life as a bright yellow 80s guitar. And then somebody had put like car paint or something on it, and it's worn off. I sanded that down a little bit because when I don't have long sleeves, I stick to the body. But I named this the Birdie guitar because this was the first guitar I bought with my daughter when she went to the store with me. And the pickups in here have been changed a few times, but these are GFS Dream 80s.
Okay.
Yeah, Dream 80s. So they're like a larger P90 style pickup, but what's really cool about this is I had it custom wired, so it's got a master volume and a master tone, but this is actually a bass roll-off.
Oh, cool.
So I can take the bass out of either of the pickups.
That's cool.
And it just makes it a really versatile guitar, and I use this one for pretty much everything.
Awesome. What else you got?
The next one is I have this special edition Jazzmaster. I was looking for a more traditional Jazzmaster, and you can see this one has humbuckers. But I really like the racing stripes on this one. So I was going to get rid of it, but then my buddy Derek, shout out Derek, he took this in and gave it a lot of TLC. He set it up, intonated the bridge for me. He put a new string tree on here. And what's crazy is, this might blow some minds, but these are actually EMG Revelation pickups. And they're passive, they're not active, so don't crucify me. But they're EMG Revelation pickups, and they sound really clear and really full, much to my surprise. And then I upgraded the string tree, and my buddy Derek helped me out with this and just did a great job on it. Everything else on it's stock. This here is one of my prized possessions. This is it's actually a parts caster. It's an MJT body.
Okay.
I don't know what the neck is, and I don't know what the pickups are, other than that they're custom made in Australia or something. If you're familiar, if you're local to the DMV area, you probably heard of Atomic Music, and that is where I got this. It's a gold mine of odd, used, nice high-end instruments. But yeah, this telly sounds incredible. It's really bright, but also full, and I just love it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so my last one that I brought with me is the PRS.
PRS.
I was told you can't be a guitar player in Maryland without owning a PRS.
This is true.
So this is an S2 line McCarty 594. It's got the push-pull pots. I did change out the pickups though. These are GFS Dream 180s, so they're a little warmer than those.
Okay.
I know people will just say, why did you change out the PRS pickups? They're so amazing. They were too dark for me.
Yeah.
But these sound great.
Do you use the coil taps?
Not usually. I did when the PRS pickups were in here, I used the coil taps.
Okay.
But when these got in here, it opened it up a little bit. It was like taking a blanket off of the sound, to be honest with you. And this sounds great.
Cool. All right, Bobby, why don't you go ahead and tell us about the amps you're using?
Sure. So I've been through, a lot of guitar players have been through a big tone journey of like different things. This is where I've ended up, and I'm really happy with what I've got. So I'm running a stereo setup, and on the left side, I'm running a Tyler Amps HM18. It's all stock from Tyler. It's got the Texas heat in there that he runs. And then on the right side, I'm running a Valve Train Saratoga, which is a relatively new acquisition for me. But it's really cool. They marketed that amp as it's like a late 70s like classic rock tone.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is it more like Marshall-y or?
So they say it. They say it is more like Marshall, but in my opinion, it sounds like a Fender trying to be a Marshall, which is why I really like it. It's really simple. It's got volume, tone, and gain.
What are the tubes in it?
6v6s.
Okay. Yeah.
So I compared it to a Princeton, and it was a little bit different than a Princeton, but it was pretty close, and it breaks up much quicker than. I have a Vibrolux at home as well. And that one just breaks up, and it does the thing that I need it to do really well. So when the things start going back and forth, it sounds really good.
All right, Bobby. So why don't you go ahead and walk us through your pedal board, the signal chain, kind of the order you have things in, and kind of what you're using and why you're using it.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll say this right off the bat: this version of the board has been the longest version of a board that I've had in a long time. So when I put this together. The goal was not only for using it to play on Sundays at church, but I also play with a couple different bands and then fill in with different bands and different things. And I wanted something that could do everything. Right. In the age of people downsizing, I clearly didn't. So everything starts, there's a junction box there at the bottom. It's a Warwick rock board junction box. I took the front panel off and kind of used a rubber mallet to hammer it in between the two rails on the pedal train. Then from there it goes up to the JHS Pulp and Peel, which is a great compressor. Everybody should know what that does.
Do you leave that on a lot of the time?
It's on all the time. Okay. I mean that's one of the things I got from the P-Dub guitar players is the compressor always on. But I like how it evens everything out. It just makes everything sound a little bit better. Then after that it goes into my JHS Mini Foot Fuzz. Then down to my Whammy, my Whammy Ricochet pedal. I used to have the actual Whammy, but it's just too big. And then it goes into my Boss ES8, which is basically the brains of the entire operation. That runs all of the pedals that are in it, and then it runs the Timeline and the Big Sky MIDI. So the way that works is channel 1 is my POG, channel 2 is my Mel 9, channel 3 is my Warm Audio Centavo. Shout out to Ben at Warm Audio. Then channel 4 is my Warmdrive by Warm Audio. Channel 5 is the Dan Electro Roebuck. And then channel 6 is my Mobius. And then it goes into the DS1. And then channel 8 is the Vertex Boost. I do get questions sometimes about why my modulation is in front of the distortion pedal and the boost. Well, in the ES8 per patch, I can arrange everything.
Oh, you can reorder?
I can reorder everything in there.
Are any of the things in the ES8 in stereo?
No, I don't run stereo out of the ES8. But out of the ES8, I run up to the Timeline, and then into the Big Sky, which one of the things I did when I built this board is I can run mono, I can run stereo, or I can run wet dry with just a couple of different patching options. And what's cool about the ES8 is with the MIDI programming for the Big Sky and the Timeline, I can per patch can turn things off and on with it, and it changes the patches, and it does everything that I need it to do. And it's super versatile, and it can go from playing Sunday morning to an alt rock band. I have a band that started with a buddy of mine that's kind of like indie pop, and it covers all of that.
That's awesome. Cool. And you probably already talked about this. Where's the volume pedal in the chain?
Oh, right. I know I didn't talk about that. So the volume pedal, the ES8, what's great, what was a selling point for the Switcher is it actually has inserts for a volume pedal that don't take up a channel. And I can put it anywhere. So
some people like it after the drive. Some people like it before the drive.
No, typically, depending on the patch, it auto defaults to being at the front of the chain. Which, depending on the patch that I'm building, it doesn't typically matter. If I'm just using the volume pedal to mute the volume, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But when I'm specifically building a patch for something, if there's swells in there or different effects I'm going for, I've always been kind of old school with volume pedal after drives before everything else.
Right. And is there a reason why you like that volume pedal?
So I had the
people are all like, I really like this one or this one.
I like this one. It's smooth, and it's got that Kevlar string in it. And I broke 2 of the other Ernie Ball volumes, and I actually had a Boss volume pedal there for a while, but it stopped working too. a lot of times I'll use the volume knobs on my guitars to swell and do different things. But like in a pinch, in a quick change or something, like the volume pedal is just... Yeah. Because my tuner, I forgot to talk about my tuner. It's the TU3S. It doesn't have an off or on. It's just on all the time. And I actually do have that going out of my... No, I have that going out of the switcher as well.
Okay.
But like, you know, people will use the tuners as mutes, but I bought that for space. And so it's just, for me, it's the volume pedal. I like that volume pedal. It's been probably a year and a half on the board, and I haven't had any issues with it.
What do you use, like the Ricochet versus the Pog? Like, what do you use?
Yeah, so it just depends. So the Ricochet is actually a whammy. Like, I have it set right now in momentary, so it will actually, you know, do the whammy thing.
Okay.
But what's really cool too is, you know, talking about my band that I play with, I was playing a chord progression that I was working on, and I actually you can tune that up or down by fifths or whatever, and I put it on a certain setting, and it just completely changed the dynamic of the song, which is actually recorded. And that's how we recorded it, and and should be coming out soon. But it's a super versatile thing. It tracks really well. So that's what I use the Ricochet for. The Pog, it's the typical. It's just adding the top and the bottom.
Right.
If it's a lead line or something. I honestly don't use it as much as I would like to.
I don't even know. Does the Mobius have any like pitch things like the Pog in there?
I've not done a super deep dive on the Mobius. Okay. I have a chorus, a tremolo. I got this weird pattern thing that I use for one of my band's songs, and then it's kind of a shame that I don't use it for more than I do. But that's how the timeline's set up too. Is I've got probably 4 or 5 delays that I'll go to, and the reverb is the same. Now, depending on the song and what context I'm in, I may tweak the reverb a little bit. But you know, I've got a spring, a hall, and what I call the huge setting, and then there's like 3 or 4 reverbs in there that are per patch, per our set list, and I'll use those. But for the most part, it's mostly on the hall, just because I like the way it, and especially in stereo, it separates the amps, and it just makes it sound great. This is just straight in, the compressor pedals on. A dual delay that I use. So essentially, the way the Mobius and stuff, as I said, is, you know, I've got some stock sounds in there, and then I've got some stock delays that I've made and used, and then the same with the reverbs. But what I'm really particularly happy with this board to put on, so I have the ES8 set up to where it can tap as well. So you asked about the Pog earlier. It's just a... Just, you know, it's there. But the difference is the whammy is... But then what's cool is I'll turn it down to here. I think that's where I want it to be. Then when you turn the Ricochet on, in the opposite way, so well. So I'll just play some chords and kick different things on, and
why don't you go to some of your like drives and stuff like that? Do you stack drives a lot, or?
I do. So the weird thing about this is I'll run my Centavo is, you know, a lighter gain, so that in, you know, perspective, I guess.
Right.
So that's the Klon, and then the Warmdrive is a little bit heavier. But then the Roebuck is also a light drive. And my reasoning for that is I do stack drives, and I like to have different options. So if you stack the Klon and the Warmdrive, but if you stack the Warmdrive into the Roebuck. A little darker, not as aggressive, and then you can stack the Klon and the Roebuck. It's just, you know, different tonal options.
Yeah.
So then the stock chorus that I use for the Mobius. And I've got tremolo. So, you know, I'll use that, and then I have a dual delay in here, and then I'll hit the huge. You know, a lot of, you know, P-Dub guys like the swells, so I'll turn the Pog on. You know, I'll turn the Mel 9 on too, and then you've got.
That sounds good.
Swells are transcendent in all kinds of music.
Right.
But yeah, so like the delay, I said I had the reverb, I have spring hall, the huge, it's just I don't actually know what, I think it's a cloud. And then I have a dotted eighth delay that I'll use, a quarter note delay, a dual delay, which I really like. It's just pings between the amps. And then I have a cool reverse delay that I like. And then up here, this is a tape slapback that I'll use. Then I got this weird 8-bit. This was in a different spot in the timeline, and I decided to use it. And yeah, see, it's just weird. It's cool. Yeah, so a couple other highlights on the board are my JHS Mini Foot Fuzz. It's cool. This was actually a gift from Josh.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when my daughter was born, which was really, really cool and generous of him. Yeah, so here's what that sounds. I don't know if you can play that on YouTube or not. You could get away with using that for a distortion. The DS1 spot, I will say about my board, what's cool about that is I have switched some things out. I was telling you I had the EVH 5153 head, and I had a hard time getting the clean channel and the rhythm channel to be great.
Right.
I could get one really great and the other one okay. So I had a EQ pedal there that would dip out some of the different frequencies I didn't like for the blue channel, and it worked. But the DS1 is the faithful DS1. Just dirty. But yeah, I mean, it's a pretty standard board. I mean, it's
That sounds great.
yeah, man.
That's awesome.
I'm really happy with where it's at. I said that this version of this board has been this board for a while, and I don't see it changing. And I mean, what's cool about it though is like the drives. You know, the Dan Electro Roebuck is a copy of the Ibanez Distortion that all the LA session guys used back in the day, and then the Warmdrive is a copy of the Zen Drive, and then the Centavo is a copy of the Klon. But there's a reason those pedals are copied so much.
Yeah, classics.
Yeah, they're great. They're great.
Thanks for checking out this video. If you want to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe. We're going to be doing more Sunday setup videos just like this one, and I'll see you all in the next one.